Larian Studios just dropped community update number 21, which goes over a variety of different topics, ranging from clearing up the confusion around the release date of this game to multi-classing to showing us a screenshot of Alchemy, which I talked about in my most recent video. So we got a lot to go over today. I will leave chapter markers below, and anything that's kind of spoilery, I'll make sure to save for later on in the video, and I'll give you a warning ahead of time. I'm actually going to start all the way at the bottom of this community update. As you guys can see, it's absolutely massive. And this has been the most confusing topic going around on the forums and on the Discord servers and everything. And that is the PC Digital Deluxe Edition does not include a 72-hour head start. So if you have early access right now, or you pre-order the game and haven't played early access, you get a free upgrade to the Digital Deluxe Edition. And the Digital Deluxe Edition initially was supposed to include a 72-hour head start from that August 31st release date. But Larian Studios, as many of you guys are aware, moved the PC launch date up to August 3rd, so 28 days earlier now. But they're not going to be able to offer players that 72-hour head start. So all PC players, regardless if you pre-order it or have the Digital Deluxe or have the collector's edition, whatever you have, all of us will be playing on the same day of August 3rd, possibly August 2nd. I guess it depends on what the world release times are going to be. But for the most part, if you want to take off work, I guess August 3rd is probably the day to start that. Now, PlayStation players, the release date for PlayStation is on September 6th, but you will still be getting that 72-hour head start if you pre-order the Digital Deluxe Edition on the PlayStation Store. So people that buy the Digital Deluxe Edition on PlayStation, you will be able to play on September 3rd. But PC players, we're all playing on August 3rd. Happy that that has now been cleared up. And don't forget, if you're playing early access right now, your save files will not carry over. So fresh start on August 3rd for everyone. And back to the top of the article, we're going to skip around a little bit here. As you saw for yourself, Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be a truly deep, systematic RPG with a story and world that is yours to mold. No two playthroughs will be the same, and that even goes for those of you who have clocked a few hundred hours in early access. As someone who's clocked in over 1,000 hours in early access, totally believe Larian, and also everything that I saw in the press conference just confirms this to be true. But here's the interesting part of the intro here. Act 1 makes up less than a quarter of the total content that will be available at launch. That's just crazy to think about. So a lot of you guys that played DOS 2, Divinity Original Sin 2, you guys may recall like the game felt like it started getting a little bit shorter and maybe there was less content and the content maybe wasn't as good the further that you got into that game. Baldur's Gate 3 is clearly going a different direction. Act 1 is less than a quarter of the total game, and there's 3 acts in this game. I'm not going to tell you guys where Act 3 takes place, even though I did talk about it in my recent video in the spoiler section. But the end of this game is a huge area, and I think just by me saying that, a lot of you guys can probably figure out where we're going to be at the end of this game. And compared to the start of early access, even Act 1 has roughly 33% more content. So as someone who did get to play the full version for about 4 hours, that 33% number that they're coming up with here does feel fairly accurate. That's kind of what it felt like when I was playing through Act 1, what I got to experience in the full version of the game. Enough renditions, enough changes, while things are still really familiar, there's enough that feels different that still makes it quite interesting. And 33%, yeah, I guess that's a number that I could agree with from what I saw. And this next section deals with the character creator, but I did go over this in depth in my recent video, as well as some other creators did, and Larian went over it in the panel from hell. But as you can see right here, the character's messing with the vitiligo slider, which is really cool that Larian is including that in their game, especially for anyone that has that skin condition. And then take note of this character's left eye right here. You guys will notice heterochromia. You can control the color of each eye individually, which is going to open up some really cool possibilities for some interesting appearances for your character, especially with Larian's color variety that they offer us in the character creator. And of course, you know, there's tattoo designs, scars, lip makeup, piercings, horn color customization, horn customization. If you're playing as a tiefling, you have the maturity slider, the freckles slider, and just so much more. And this next segment deals with multi-classing, and it does contain some new information. Whether you're an experimenter at heart who forges class hybrids through careful consideration, or you just can't decide between a warrior and a mage, we're excited to finally announce that multiclassing will be coming to Baldur's Gate 3, and Larian gave us this beautiful screenshot so we could see multiclassing on the level up screen, and this character is level 6, but they have 4 levels in Druid, and it looks like they're taking another level in Barbarian, so therefore they're a level 4 Druid and a level 2 Barbarian, but character level 6. And because they're taking a level in Barbarian on this particular level up, they're getting the Barbarian level 2 features. So you can see Danger Sense right here, which gives them advantage on dexterity saving throws. And then, of course, Reckless Attack, which is a level 2 Barbarian feature where you get advantage on your melee attack. Really like how things are looking here, and I have done a video on multiclassing. I've done a few videos on multiclassing in the past, but I'll have a few more coming up here over the next week or two to help you guys think of ideas for multiclassing and also kind of break it down as to how it works. We're not quite done talking about multiclassing yet. So right here, Larian brings up that multiclassing has an effect on role-playing and also practical function. And the reason why they bring up roleplay here is because your class choice also does affect things in the game, such as dialogue. It's not just combat focused. So when you multiclass, this is probably going to have a unique effect on the dialogue. We're going to have to wait and see what that actually is. But the big news here is this paragraph. In order to allow your wildest dream class combinations, we've removed ability score prerequisites. So there's no more need to get your charisma up to a pesky 13 if you decide to make a soul pact with a playful archfey or dangerous fiend. So in 5th edition D&D, if you wanted to multiclass into a warlock, you had to have at least a 13 in charisma. If you wanted to multiclass into a druid, you had to have at least a 13 in wisdom. Larian is removing that prerequisite, which is pretty crazy because this opens up a lot more possibilities for multiclassing. Some combinations may be extremely weak, but this also makes the possibility of getting some really strong ones too without having that prerequisite. You can take, features from other classes that aren't necessarily ability score based and get them really easily. You can multiclass into anything your roleplay and build desires demand. In short, this means warriors will be able to wield arcane spells, rogues can master divine magic, spellcasters may dabble in martial prowess, and you'll have the freedom to build the exact class that you want. Each level, you'll have the option to choose a different class to spend points on and begin building a bespoke multiclass character. Given the possible combinations, we recommend you have previous experience as a D&D player to fully leverage this feature. But should you decide to evenly spread all your points into every class for no strategic reason, there's naturally an achievement for that too. So max level in this game is level 12. So you could theoretically multiclass every time you level up. So you would be a player or character level 12, but you'd be a level 1 druid, level 1 fighter, level 1 warlock, level 1 cleric. It's just crazy to think about. It's kind of exciting. Like I think it's kind of cool that Larian's going to allow us to do this, even if it's not optimal. But damn, that's going to be so much fun to try that. And the section below this is about respeccing classes. So BG3 has 12 classes, 46 different subclasses, and then you add multiclassing on top of that. And we players have a lot of decisions to make, and Larian wants to make sure that we aren't stressed out over making bad decisions, I guess you could say, in terms of our character builds. So we will have the opportunity to respec through a particular NPC. I won't say who that NPC is in this particular video, but even if you don't meet this NPC the way that Larian probably expects you to come across them, this NPC will show up at your camp at a later time. So there's no possible way that you can miss out on having this respec character in your camp and available for your use. And basically, this character will give you the opportunity to restart your build from level 1 with new starting proficiencies, attributes, spells, and cantrips. So you can actually change your class. You can't change your race, or at least we haven't heard about that yet. You can change your class, and from what I'm told from others, I haven't seen this with my own 2 eyes yet, you should also be able to change the companions classes and an origin character's class. Not sure how it's going to work. Don't quote me 100%, but that's what I was told. And then below this, we have a little section on hirelings. Mercenaries at your service. Recruit lethal assistance with hirelings. We hear you loud and clear, community. Should you so choose, you'll be able to create a custom party without any origins, opting instead to have hirelings join you on the road. Mercenaries who can be hired to join your team temporarily. Larian's confusing me with the hireling talk here. Temporarily. I didn't expect that. I thought we would be able to have like a full custom party throughout the entire game. Not really sure how this is going to work. In Baldur's Gate 3, there are 12 hirelings available for you to recruit, 1 for each class. Each has their own name, visuals, and race, and can be respec'd at any time. And if we take a closer look at this picture right here, you can see the 12 hirelings, and they all have names. I'm a little bit confused here, because why would Larian tell us that they have their own race and name if we were able to customize the race and name? So I'm starting to think that you can't actually customize the hirelings except for like their build path. I don't know. I'm still very confused on this. I don't know if you guys have any information on this that I don't know, but I thought the whole point of, you know, the Hirelings was to allow us to have a full custom party and be able to create their entire appearance and everything about them and have them as permanent party members. So I'm confused as to what Larian's doing with the Hirelings here. I mean, it still looks pretty cool, and I'm okay with it because I'm going to be running with companions either way, but I'm a little bit confused on this. All right, now I want to jump down to the Alchemy section because Larian gave us a nice screenshot of Alchemy, and I did get to see this when I was playing the full version of the game. A new crafting feature comes to Baldur's Gate, the domain of magic wielders, conjurers, and anyone with a passing interest in mysterious fumes. Alchemy allows you to turn your collection of herbs, wild mushrooms, crystals, and monster limbs into useful items you can prepare ahead of a fight. In Baldur's Gate 3, you can use ingredients found in the wilderness to create a variety of extracts, then combine extracts to create potions, poisons, and oils to imbibe or coat your weapons with. And Larian gave us this lovely screenshot. And the first thing I want to quickly point out is how beautiful this game looks and how far the user interface has come. You guys will notice down here that you can expand your hotbar upwards. There's more rows that show, so you can see more of your spells and your abilities. And then the portrait system, of course, has been improved. And you have these beautiful portraits of the origin characters and the custom character. I kind of want to have these portraits printed out and just hang them up around my room. And then in the top right, you guys can see the redesigned mini map. And this is actually quite indicative of what the full map looks like. As you guys can see, there's a bit of a grid in here, which really gives that tabletop D&D feel. In the full map, I cannot wait for you guys to see it. I just love what Larian did with it, and it's such a step up compared to early access and also Divinity Original Sin 2. But the reason why we're looking at the screenshot is for Alchemy. So let's talk about Alchemy here. So on the left side of the screen here, you can see that you can craft potions, elixirs, grenades, and also coatings for your weapons. And then below coatings, I actually played and got to mess with Alchemy, so I know what's below here. We have sublimates, salts, essences, ashes, vitriols, and then suspensions. So if this character or this player were to pull the screen down a little bit, you would see all of those as well. Pretty straightforward system, and from my experience, I could access it whenever I wanted to. And basically, you just click on the type of elixir that you want to craft, or potion, or coating, or grenade, and it tells you what you need. And in this case, the Elixir of Colossus, they're using a Chasm Creeper, using any suspension, and then that creates the Elixir of the Colossus. And all you got to do is click the craft item, or you can craft as many as it will possibly let you. I do want to point out that when I was playing, I only had one recipe under each of these, so you must have to come across these recipes as you're playing. You know, I think it's really great that they are introducing alchemy to the game, because it's going to make picking up items and searching for items and searching in barrels and picking up mushrooms and all of that type of stuff have much more meaning and excitement behind it. And I do also think there's going to be more crafting in the game that we just haven't seen it yet, because there already is, you know, weapon crafting to a certain extent in early access, where you combine certain parts together to create certain weapons and things of that nature. So I think we'll probably find more about that in the near future. I'm jumping around quite a bit here just because I'm trying to save the more spoilery stuff for the end. In this section right here, it says, Whispers and Headlines, the echoes of your deeds on the city's gossip mill. Upon reaching Baldur's Gate, your choices will begin to express themselves to the world in other ways. Crowds in the city will systematically gossip and talk about your escapades and failures, and can even be influenced through you directly modifying the paper and printing the most favorable headlines. We did talk about this a little bit in previous videos, but it's just really cool that we're going to be able to break into Baldur's Mouth, is the name of the news agency in the city, and manipulate the paper. Now, some of you might not be able to. I guess it depends on your build and your decisions and your choices and how you decide to handle that. But we know that it is a possible thing that you can at least attempt to do. And I absolutely am going to attempt to manipulate that paper. Really cool that Larian has systems like this in the game, where like if they didn't have this thing where the crowds react to the newspaper and all that, nobody would be thinking twice. We would still be like, holy crap, this is like a crazy big game with so much agency and permutations. But then Larian just throws in things like this that just blow your mind. So really cool system. Can't wait to experience it. And the last segment that is not spoilery really at all is the split screen co-op multiplayer segment, which is really cool that this game has this, especially for those of you guys that live with other people that, you know, would play games, maybe family members, or maybe you're young enough to where you still live with your friends, which is pretty cool. So in addition to having online multiplayer for 4 players, in Baldur's Gate 3, 2 of you can grab controllers and jump straight into 2-player split screen couch co-op. And as you guys can see, the screen is split into two right here, and both players are off kind of doing their own thing in the city of Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate 3 comes to life in multiplayer, empowered by all those extra fingers poised to tip the dominoes and unleash a cascading chain of events upon the Forgotten Realms. Players can join a party before the start of a playthrough, during character creation, or during an ongoing game. Each of the playable origin characters can be chosen only once, or should you prefer, you can mold the creation of your own. So they're basically saying drop in, drop out multiplayer in this game. And of course, this also applies with split screen co-op multiplayer. So if you have a friend that's playing and you come over on a Friday night, you can just drop in and take command of a controller or a player and have a good time. You don't have to start an entirely new game. Players will share most of the information that the game provides them, like journal notes about ongoing adventures, minimap discoveries, and alchemical recipes. Player inventories are also shared by default in multiplayer, but there is an option to lock your inventory from your thieving pals. And the last paragraph talks about how inspiration points are shared. So you earn inspiration points in this game by doing something that makes sense according to the background that you chose. So if you are a charlatan and you do something in the world that is charlatan-like, you may end up earning an inspiration point, and you do share that with your multiplayer buddies. And also in multiplayer, you can listen in on conversations started by another player and vote on which dialogue option you want them to take. So it's a nice way for players who aren't the ones talking to still, be engaged with the conversation and maybe even have an effect on what the player that is talking actually chooses. Some select scenes are private by default in your options, however, including romance scenes, but players can make all secret scenes public to their party should they wish. So it's nice to have that option, especially depending on who you're playing with. This next section is about the Dark Urge origin character. Maybe a little bit spoilery, but probably not too bad because you'd like to learn a little bit more about an origin character before you play an origin character. And Larian gave us a few more details. So as many of you are already aware, the Dark Urge is a fully customizable origin character. So race, class, etc. You can do whatever you want with the Dark Urge. As the Dark Urge, you begin Baldur's Gate 3 with your memory lost after an unfortunate encounter between a parasitic tadpole and your brain. Now all that's left is an insatiable urge, an urge that makes itself known in your subconscious, through your deepest thoughts, in your dialogue options. And then we have this interesting looking character right here, who Larian is revealing to us. Guiding the Dark Urge in their time of need is Celeritas Fell, voiced by Brian Bowles, the narrator of Divinity Original Sin 2. Pretty awesome. A vile and loyal servant, Fell lives only to see the Dark Urge return to their rightful blood-stained path, and urges them to commit some of the most lurid acts of violence that you'll encounter in the game. Whatever you indulge, your most depraved impulses, or attempt to resist them in this role is entirely up to you. Love that Larian is giving us a choice with the Dark Urge, kind of how we want to play that out. And I promise you guys, like I said in my previous video, I experienced a horrifying scene with the Dark Urge. Pretty badass, but also horrifying. Because despite the darkness lurking within this character, how you choose to play the Dark Urge is for you to decide. In BG3, there is no clear-cut evil path and no path that is plainly good. There are simply choices, ramifications, and a personal evolution that will ensure who you play is as complex and multifaceted as you are. The Dark Urge can even form a romantic relationship just like any other origin character. Of course, relationships with those who harbor dark secrets are often complicated, and this is one that will require a patient paramour capable of tempering and restraining their partner's most primal and untamed desires, and hopefully one with more than a passing interest in bondage. So, cool little reveal of Celeritas Fell right here, who is going to certainly be an interesting character. I think that's pretty much a guarantee at this point. Just look at how this character looks. Very interesting. In these last two sections of the community update, the first one that I'm going to talk about deals with the game's third major antagonist. So if that's a little bit too much for you, have a wonderful day. And then right after that, I'm going to talk about, the character that you choose as your dream character in character creation is now being revealed to us in a little bit of a different way. And I even have a special scene to show you all, just a little clip of it, and maybe I'll show more later on, or we'll do more of a deep dive into it. So this section right here is meet the third major villain of Baldur's Gate, Orin the Red. Personally, between Orin, Catherrick, and Gortash, Orin is by far one of the coolest villains that I've seen in a video game in a while, and we don't even know much about Orin yet, but we got a nice quick little article out of Larian. So completing the trinity of villains in Baldur's Gate 3 is Orin, a practitioner in the art of inflicting pain and a grandmaster of murder. Orin is killed for many years, but has yet to be caught, thanks in part to her shape-shifting abilities, which enable her to take the form of anyone, perhaps even someone in your camp. She hides her cravings to commit murder beneath these numerous masks, disguising her intentions and herself to lure unsuspecting victims. It's during the act of murder that she is her truest self. At that moment, she is murder. You guys should know who the Lord of Murder is. Baal, one of the Dead Three. Very, very important god in the original Baldur's Gate games, of course. So Orin is going to be a very, very interesting antagonist. And I definitely recommend that if you played the original Baldur's Gate games, that you get involved with Orin's story here. You know, don't just offer right away or whatever you do. Try to get involved with Orin's story, whether you support her or you don't. I think there's going to be a lot of cool, you know, tiebacks to perhaps the original games, but definitely Baal, the Lord of Murder. And we also learned that Orin is voiced by Maggie Robertson, who is in Resident Evil Village and also God of War Ragnarok. Okay, on to the last section of the game, which deals with romance, but I don't know what I can talk about with romance anymore. After my video the other day got age restricted, I don't know what exactly did it, so we're not going to get too much into, you know, discussion on romance. But Larian did reveal to us a character that is called the Guardian. So the Guardian is the character that you create at the start of the game who represents all that you desire. So after you finish creating your character, you know, that the voice comes in, who do you dream of at night, or something along those lines, and you create that character. And those of you guys that have played early access will know that that character will then visit you in your dreams from time to time. Now we're getting some more information on this character, and it's a little bit different now. So the Guardian has changed significantly since you first encountered them in your dreams throughout early access. We've worked to thematically deepen this narrative thread, going beyond the realm of physical desire to encompass the full spectrum of complex emotions that must be navigated in order for you to truly trust another. We hope you enjoyed the previous maddeningly vague sentence, because you'll have to play for yourself to find out what any of it means. Really interesting choice of words by Larian to call it our Guardian. Now let me share a quick cutscene for you all.
There is great potential within you. It comes from that parasite. Your instinct is to resist the power it gives, but you must accept it, nurture it. I will keep it from consuming you, but for the sake of both of us, you must learn to wield it.
Now, I do have more of that cutscene, but you guys are going to have to let me know down below if you'd like to discuss it some more, and then maybe I'll show you guys some more. I don't want to get too spoilery, but at the same time, if I have it, it means some other creators have it too, so someone's going to do it at some point, right? Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Many more Baldur's Gate 3 videos to come. All of you guys that have been asking about my surgery, it went great. It went better than expected, actually, and my knee feels pretty good. If you guys notice, I'm kind of leaned back a little bit in a lot of my videos now. It's because I have my legs propped up underneath my desk. But thank you for all the support, and I will catch you guys on the next one.